Hey everybody, long time no see. Good morning if you're West Coast, good afternoon if you're here on the East Coast, and almost good evening if you're EU. It has been a while since I've been able to use my broadcast setup. And I'm here in a friend's house, hence, other side, the fan behind my head. I'm in Tampa, Florida. This is my what about us Indians? Good question. Let's see. IST should be 9 hours ahead. It's definitely good evening for IST. So, good evening to the folks in India. We'll start out lighthearted. Our friend here that we're staying with, our host, gifted us a full bottle of this. This is the empty. I just put it in. This is Siesta Key Toasted Coconut Rum. This happens to be bottle 74. We just opened another to make my cocktail. And yeah, yeah, full bottle. So the drink is ginger beer, toasted coconut rum, a little lime juice, and pineapple, frozen pineapple chunks as ice cubes. Yeah, we drank the other 74 bottles earlier. You know the song, like 99 bottles of rum on the wall? We've had a good hurricane, which brings me to the next thing I want to spend time talking about before we get to the serious career stuff. Let's see. Let's make sure everything's good. By the way, I'll note I've got 2 kids in homeschool right now, where homeschool means remote schooling. So we have at least 4 people on the bandwidth here in this house. So if you get any hitches in the stream, just deal. Pentaquant, thank you for the resub, and it's good to see you. Good morning. What we'll do though is I'll talk a little bit about the hurricane, which became Tropical Storm Eta and passed over us. I'll drink a little. I have refill capability. This is really good, too. We just had lunch here. And then we'll get into the stuff I want to talk about, which is specifically how video game thinking can help you win at your career. So that's going to be my focus for today. But let me see what I have to show you for photos. So here we go. This is yesterday morning, and I think I put this in our Discord already. This was Hurricane Eta. At that point, it actually was a hurricane in strength, tracking, and we're in Tampa. So you can see we had a Category 1 hurricane headed towards Tampa. And any questions about that, let me know. I'll show you a few pictures. Yeah, we were under it, Vincent. That's exactly right. And so another photo I think I put in Discord, but I'll go ahead and show here for fun. Let me back out of that puppy and pull this one up. So that's just a snap off my phone. Obviously, Google Maps is saying that we were at the blue dot. And you can see the yellow and orange coming in. Again, that was actually taken, I think, Tuesday night. It says morning, I guess, as of 7:09 a.m. Eastern. So that was right when the hurricane got to us. And at that point, it had started to weaken to be just a tropical storm. So I've never been through a hurricane. I have been through a couple tropical storms. But I was wondering, like, this storm was coming on shore right up Tampa Bay. What would it be like? And I didn't know. So, yeah, real weather for a change. Totally. I am not yet back from the road trip. This is the farthest extent of the road trip, and thank you for asking. We have crossed the U.S. corner to corner. That's a good segue, actually. I have a photo of our van. I have a couple photos of our van I'll show real quick. So here's the house we're in with the van in front of it. So that's our travel van. And then here's a close-up of the van. Nope. Sorry, the thumbnails are small. we'll go back to that. Here's a close-up of the van. And here on this side, that's a map of the U.S. where we filled in the states that we've covered. So I have to put Georgia and Florida on it. But the upper left corner is Washington. We came through Washington, Idaho, Nevada, Utah, Colorado, Kansas, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, West Virginia, North Carolina, Tennessee, South Carolina, Georgia, and now in Florida. And that's the trip on the way out. On the way back, we'll go home south of all of that. And I had really hoped to meet up with Duke of Thought, who's one of our common viewers. Hey, Maximus, thank you for the sub. I'm not watching chat while I'm showing off pictures. But we made it across the country in this van, killing no one. We did kill a bird in Nevada, and some of the bird's guts are still stuck in the logo on the front of the van. But it rained really hard, so I'm hoping it washed some of them away. So my two stepkids, 15 and 9, as well as my wife, we made it across, visited all kinds of friends, had a good time. And we're alternating between sleeping in the van, which sleeps 4, but it's squeezy, and sleeping in friends' homes like we are now. Danny, homeschooling on the road generally has gone pretty well. When we were doing the national parks in Utah at first, it was a little tough because of no signal. But once we got consistent signal, the kids have been able to do everything. The real problem, unfortunately, is homeschool is just not that good. The kids aren't learning that much. Isaac, who streams his Outrun, he's in computer science technically, and they're doing assignments in Minecraft. And he's had 4 assignments in the 11 weeks since school began. So I'm going to have to, I think, take over his computer science education myself. So the Rex 243, glad to hear you're okay. Thank you. The hurricane weakened to a tropical storm. I'll finish up on that and show a couple more pictures real quick. It really didn't do anything. It weakened. We're 3 miles inland from the water. We ran down to the river this morning. We went for a jog. And this is the worst we saw. So that's the river. It's upstream from Tampa Bay itself. You can kind of see some dirt on the path and in the lawn. That's like the high water mark. So water came at high tide a couple feet out of the riverbank, but really nothing. We never lost power. So this guy was wading in the water in the park, hoping that we'd feed him some crackers or snacks. And I think I have one more picture I didn't show. Oh, something I will say cool about Tampa. They paint stuff. They do a lot of murals. So this is a storm drain, and I like the contrast of the skull and the sort of, I'm not good with my tropical fish. To me, that looks like a blue goldfish, but I'm sure someone will correct me in chat. So anyway, if you have any questions about our trip, throw them in chat. We'll use the Q&A extension for the actual talk, but I'll take a minute and watch chat and see if there's anything else y'all want to know. Did you see a giant gator? No, we saw gator warning signs. Like that park we were in had gator warning signs, and we're going to take the kids to the aquarium today to see a gator. Tomorrow, it should be calmed down enough. We'll probably go kayaking in the mangrove swamp and or paddleboarding. And so hopefully we'll not see gators there, but see dolphins, manatees, etc. And with that, since a lot of you have gathered, I think I should jump into the topic I want to cover today. And that topic, I'll come back here for a minute. That topic is really how can video game thinking help you be successful in your career? And I gave this talk 2 days ago, 3 days ago, to Carnegie Mellon's Entertainment Technology Center, their students. And those are students who essentially are looking at video game making, film making, etc. as careers, and they're master's students. So what I've said to some of you before is that there's an analogy for video games to life, and I want to go through that in a little more detail. So some of this will be review, but I put together, if you come here a lot, otherwise it'll be new. And I put together a lot of thoughts, and then after I presented it, I found 5 things about my slides I didn't like, and so I went back and fixed them. So you're getting a better version of this than what I showed to others. And if you have questions, that's the Randy Pausch one. That's right, Perpetual White Belt. If you know the story of Randy Pausch and his book, what was that book? Last Lecture. If you haven't read it, it's super short. You can also watch the YouTube video of it. Randy Pausch in his Last Lecture. This was a professor dying of pancreatic cancer, and he's now long dead. He does a tremendous job in this lecture, and it's worth your 60 minutes to listen to him. But Tennessee was the worst. And if you're not a gamer, the real burns, that's okay. The gaming analogy will still help you. So let me jump into this. I won't be watching chat as much while I go through the slides, but I'll flip back and forth a little bit, and then you can put questions into the extension about the talk, and I'll answer those at the end. Yeah, and Dr. Pausch, his last lecture is totally worth seeing. So, all right, here we go. So, winning the game of work-life balance, that's where I started. That's me. I gave them a bio. You all know this, but if you're new to the stream, real quick, I have a BS and MS, Carnegie Mellon and Purdue. I spent 12 years in startups, and then at Amazon, I essentially held 5 jobs, building Prime Video, running the first game studio, building the Amazon App Store, a team of 800, working for several years at Twitch, building commerce as well as our developer tools, and some of the stuff with ads. And then I ended my career 60 days ago at Amazon building Prime Gaming. But here's the point for this audience. Life as video games. This is not just career. Life and career can be explained in gaming terms. And if you haven't heard this and you are a gamer or you watch a lot of Twitch, you at least know about games. You can understand games in an RPG analogy. You can use MOBAs, trading card games, other games as well. You can do this with Magic the Gathering. You can do it with Hearthstone. You can do it with Dota or something else. But we all essentially choose a character class. And our education forms the base definition of our class. So I'm an engineer, or I'm an artist, or I'm a manager, or I'm a scientist. We have chemies, we have lots of that forms the start of our character class. And then those tend to define our skill tree, right? Because we spend time with our internships and jobs. And the key is understanding there's a meta game going on here that you can play intentionally and design the character that is you in the game of life will give you a leg up. Because what it will do, and this is very important, is it will make you proactive and thoughtful about the game you're playing and the fact that you have control over it. It's not just something that you're experiencing that happens to you passively. And that's probably the biggest downfall in most people's gameplay, is they don't play the meta very well. And I steal a lot of that, honestly, from Dota and League, because they're well known for having a lot of ever-changing meta. There's probably some other games you feel that way as well. But learning to play the meta game of your career and life is worth it. You build out your skills by the work you do, and it is possible to multi-class yourself. I did it once by changing from being an engineer to more of a leader, and now I'm doing it again by changing from being an executive to a streamer and to a coach. So it is possible to multi-class. I would say most people do it, but it is expensive and takes a lot of time. In any case, my goal today is to teach you to win this game. So let's see. Quick check. Oh, NVA Hitch, thank you for the sub. Always good to see our regulars here. Coffee, yes, life is an RPG. It's one where you only get one life and there's no resurrection spell yet discovered. Mrs. Mountain, welcome back. Thank you for the ongoing sub. Thank you for the 6 months in advance. Wow, that's real commitment. I appreciate that. I hope you get the value out of it and enjoy it. It's afternoon here. It's not a morning drink. It's 12:50. However, I admit we did some drink testing before noon. So, all right, let's keep going. So if life is a game, here's a really important question. What is winning? Well, real life is the ultimate open world game. You get to define your own goals and victory conditions. Career achievement, wealth, free time. What are you playing for? What are your victory conditions? Have you ever thought about it? Have you written them down? And then how is your gameplay going to get you there? People talk a lot about work-life balance. I was asked to talk to these students about work-life balance. Great questions. Do you work to live? Is your work only to let you live, to get your house, to get your car? Or are you a workaholic, like I have been at points? Do you live to work? You define yourself through work. Your pride is through work. Your achievements are through work. When someone asks you what you do, you only answer in terms of work. Do you live to work? Some people do. I have at times. There's a saying, find a job that you love and you'll never work a day in your life. I'm going to talk a lot about this. And this goes to gameplay. Don't play a game you don't like. All of you have favorite games if you're gamers. And somebody said, well, what if you're not a gamer? I bet even you are a phone gamer. You have games you like, games you don't. Try to play a game you like. That's the point here. All right. So work at things you love. Some of you have hung around the channel, and of course this will always be true. We pull in themes from other discussions. There's this guy, a Hungarian American. His name is Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. He's the originator of the concept of flow, which you may know as being in the zone. It's the sensation of being absorbed in a game or absorbed in your work. Well, I was talking to an audience of game designers at the ETC. And when we do game design, and Danny works, she's here, maybe some others, from our Amazon Game Studios, games use 4 psychological constructs when we do game design: autonomy, mastery, purpose, and relatedness. And you see them defined here. Autonomy is self-determination, the fact that the choices you make in the game matter. Mastery means you can level up, you can improve your skills, you can get quicker, you can learn the meta. Purpose means you know the victory conditions. And relatedness, most games now are team and multiplayer. When we make a game, we use these concepts to form the core loop of a game. We use them to actually define the game and to make it compelling. And it's really interesting. The word compelling is dangerous in games because we do want a game to be compelling. We want it to be engaging. But the word compel actually can take away some sense of free will. And that's where you get into discussion of some people struggling with game addiction. So there's this fine balance of making a game really entertaining, but not so entertaining that people can't function apart from the game. Regardless, none of those apply to our career, or I guess you could say workaholism is when your game of career becomes so dominant that you're addicted to work. In any case, players lose track of time and they're absorbed in the game. Flipping over to chat real quick. Yep, a lot of this does come under self-actualization in Maslow. Van City Oliver, good to see you. All right, so let's keep going. So how do these concepts come together? Work, flow, and your passion. Well, if you've ever been absorbed in a game or absorbed in some type of work that fit you, it's easiest, arguably even effortless, in the flow state. Specifically, flow can be defined as when the challenge level and your skill level match. And if the work is too easy or the game is too easy, you get bored. That's a type of drudgery if you have to keep doing it. On the other hand, if the work is too hard, you get frustrated. And that can lead to what I've called despair. You can put other words here. You want to be in the middle of this. You want to be where it's hard but achievable, because that keeps you engaged and makes you feel competent. And I know on Twitch there'll be somebody, whether they pipe up in chat or not, that struggles with feeling competent. Well, you have to match the challenge you're facing to the skill level. So in your life, you want to seek work that matches these two, and that will enable you to be in this magical flow state where, importantly, work won't feel hard to you. Because if work is fun, it's not work anymore, it's fun. And I'm going to argue that it's important to have work be fun if you can. So these same ideas are in the game, right? Autonomy, reasonable control of the work you do, mastery, it matches your skill, which, by the way, is a moving target. The work I do would be hard for many people who don't have my background. On the other hand, there's work other people do that would be impossible or very hard for me, and it would take me years of study to be able to do what they do if I ever could. So understand that mastery for you is not the same as others and is a moving target. So if you're a developer, code and systems that are hard for you to build today will be easy tomorrow. And code that's hard for you to write today will be appropriate and then boring for you across the future time. Finally, most of us do like to work with others. Now, I know there'll be some people who say, oh, I'm introverted, I don't like any others, I want to be alone in my basement. Yeah, sort of, but you're here in a community watching this, aren't you? So, drink time. Van City, everything I do becomes a YouTube video. So we have a number of community members who edit down the videos. They tend to lag 2 to 4 weeks, but this will absolutely come out. And I think to get the YouTube, maybe it's a moderator only command, but they can post the whole YouTube link for you. We have about 100 videos out there at this point. So feel free to check those out. And thank you for the suggestion. So let's talk about this idea of work-life balance. I've come to think that this concept is dangerous, possibly even destructive. It sets up work and life as opposites, which is true for some people, but terrible. It makes work and life a zero-sum game where work is the absence of life. You're not alive when you're there. And it's the cost of living. And then life is what you can do only outside of work. I acknowledge this is true for many, many unhappy, unfortunate souls. Even in America, which should be fairly self-actualized, about 70% of people say that their job is a kind of drudgery they hate and they're just waiting for the weekend. But it doesn't have to be true of you. 30% still is like 35, 40 million workers in the US, hundreds of millions globally. You can shoot to be part of this 30%, and I think growing, who enjoy their work. And the point of this is to talk to you about how to do that. And so I don't think you can win the balance equation, by the way. To be really successful in your career, and most of the audience who listens here, like awesome, like others, are driven to try to be excellent, takes many, many hours of time. Technically, we have a 40-hour work week in the US, but most driven professionals are working 50 hours, 60 hours, sometimes more. It's the thing they do the most aside from sleeping. It's hard to have balance in a 60-hour work week, so you better not see work as the absence of life. Instead, you better enjoy it. So Bezos coined this thing that at least I first heard from him called work-life harmony. You could see that as management, simply coming up with ways to try to make you think that the fact you're slaving away, you should enjoy. But I think it's possible to actually get in the flow state, be doing work that challenges and fulfills you if you seek it out. And that goes back to designing your victory conditions and the stuff we talked about in gameplay. So let me move on. Harmony and flow. Hey, awesome. Both awesomes are here. Double awesome. So, couple reality checks. Number one, we cannot be in flow all of the time. Life sometimes requires game phases we don't enjoy, commonly in gaming called grinding or gold farming. All jobs contain paperwork, meetings, things you're asked to do that aren't in your sweet spot. This is true of games too, though. The key is, do you enjoy enough of the gameplay of what you're doing that overall it's fun and that you like the game and enjoy and look forward to playing it? For example, I'll change domains for a minute. I play hockey. I don't particularly like the effort to get dressed in all the gear. I don't like packing up my bag and hauling it and then bringing home my gear and having to dry it so it doesn't stink. But I love to play, and so it's a cost I pay. So there's some grinding in order to get what I'm after. Well, the same thing is true in work. From a career viewpoint, therefore, you're seeking a major in college, training in your tech school, experiences wherever you're at that fit something you enjoy, and then accompany in a role where your best skills that you love are applied daily. Now, there'll be people who quite rightly say, well, what if I just need a job? What if I don't get to choose my job? What if? Well, first, I will argue, knowing the audience here, most of you have a lot of agency and choice. Second, maybe you do have to take a shitty job for a while. But if you are thinking of a 30 or 40-year life, you can work your way into a new career if you have a plan. And that's the point about plan your character sheet, plan your skill tree to develop into what you want. Many of you have heard that I spent several years planning to launch this stream and figuring out how I was going to leave Amazon and teach as my next career phase, because that's what I had gotten to where that's what I wanted to do. I felt like I had done what I needed to as an executive, and I wanted to do something new, and I planned it. You can do the same thing. I am not special in that way. Okay, I'm special, but not necessarily in that way. Here's some encouragement. We've talked about this blog before. It's called 1,000 True Fans. If you enjoy your work, you'll do it well. Duh, kind of. In other words, you may do work that you don't like well, but it will drain you. But if it's easy, not difficult, then you'll do it well and it will be effortless. And second, and we have lots of managers here in the chat. We have Danny and others. I haven't been keeping track. We have NVA Hitch. There's a bunch of leaders. They'll all tell you, look, when you do your work well, you tend to get paid more. That's just fact. Now, there's this blog I've talked about. It's called 1,000 True Fans by Kevin Kelly. It's at kk.org. His point was, look, you only need 1,000 people who really believe in your work, your product, your service, whatever it is you do, your cooking, your performance art, your gameplay, your board game design on a Kickstarter. If you have 1,000 people willing to spend $100 a year with you, it's $100,000 of income. Now, you may want 10 times that. The point is there's 7 billion people on Earth, and you only need 1,000 true fans. So, goes to the point, small batch rum, what I'm drinking. I don't know, but the fact that, I think I said bottle 74 before, I think there's a 9. Bottle 79, that they're numbering bottles with only 2 digits. They have to have a limited number of fans, but yet they're a business and they're doing fine. And it's good rum. Let me check chat real quick. If you have questions, by the way, I see one person has put in one question with one vote. Feel free to go add more questions about this, because this is one of the more important talks, and I've put some work into making it really streamlined. So please feel free to ask me questions about it. All right. And to go vote. So mods, pop up the vote exhortation. We will convince people to vote on what they want me to talk about. There you go. It's your civic duty, which we just completed By the way, quick segue. I don't talk about election or politics, but I did say in our Discord, America is too divided. And so one of the things I want to do is by teaching people how to have economic security and career success, I hope they can be more generous towards each other and less afraid, and therefore have less need to hate and fear the other political party, whatever that is. So that's our mission here in part. All right. So I was old enough that I saw this cartoon come out. Someone in chat can maybe figure out the publication date. I couldn't find it quickly last night. But this cartoon was created well before the date it shows of 2005. I would assume it was created in the 90s sometime. And what it shows is a bunch of parents dreaming of want ads in a newspaper, something that's a passé concept many of you have never seen. But jobs used to be advertised in the newspaper. And they were dreaming of a couple things. That A, their kid would make a living playing games, and B, that it would be $50,000 to $100,000 of pay. Now, what we know are three things about this. Number one, at the time this was published, it was so unimaginable. It was a joke. It was a cartoon. What made this funny is that it was absurd. Yet, it actually became reality. And I'm sure you know many streamers and many esports figures make quite a bit more than this between sponsorships and professional gaming winnings. They make between hundreds of thousands and millions. So the point I'm making here is that you can create your own career, whatever it is you want to do. So I went backwards to the other slides. You can create something that fits in your sweet spot of what you want to do. You only need a limited number of people to truly support you in doing that. And you can create something that people in the past imagined was completely impossible. So it's okay. Awesome. You don't need to ask questions if you don't have any. So it's all good. All right. The second thing I want to say, and I want to give credit to the person who created this. I first heard this from Emmett Shear, CEO of Twitch. Whatever you're doing, whether it's law, business, like Pentaquant, finance, like me, coaching, seek to be in the blue box of this diagram, not the green box. And the point is, the blue box has very few people. It's thin on the axis of the number of people who like what you're doing, but it's tall, deep on how much they like it. True fans. That earlier blog article says 1,000 true fans. You only need it to be 1,000 wide. Now, you can make a living in the green box with a bunch of people who kind of like you. And this is where I would put commodities and fast food. There are very few people who are like, oh my God, I love McDonald's. I love Subway. But those companies make a living by being pretty good and tolerated by a lot of people. So that's the green box. The blue box is the 1,000 true fans, the tribe, the passion. And that's why a lot of games, they're no longer growing. They don't have a lot of new players, but they're still doing very well as they have very loyal audiences. So that would be Second Life. That would be Devin's game out of Iceland. Gosh, he'd kill me for forgetting it. I'm sure chat will fill it in. A little bit of pineapple with that. That was good. What is that damn game? Eve. Oh my God. I had a mental block on it. Too much rum in the morning. Yeah. Okay, that pretty much lines up exactly with indie dev strategies. Completely. The problem is getting the reach to find the people. You are right, Senior Taco-san. The blue box is the cult following. That is right. And I see some people are adding questions. That's good. I'll get to them at the end. Don't you have to keep replacing people that leave your fan base? You do. Some people stay a long time. Some people time out over time, and that's okay. You do have to keep replacing this, but sticky people stay. We've had people who are deep members of this community who've supported it for a year or more, and they will turn over time. I know, though, gosh, Day 9, if you know Twitch at all, created, he was the one who asked Twitch to create a sub button. So he has some of the oldest subs. And at this point, he has some people that are beyond 84 months. They're closing in on 100 consecutive months of subscription, as an example. All right, I want to talk a little bit about a dark side, corporate realities. This, because I'm telling you how to find work you love, you got to be a little careful what you do. So first thing is, corporations as legal entities do not have feelings. They're legal machines. They have individuals in them who may have plenty of feelings and may constrain corporate actions, but corporations themselves are just legal constructs on paper. And a corporation is designed to transform resources into value. That's what it does. It's neither good or evil, it's just a machine. It's like calling a saw or a blender good or evil. But one of the resources they take in are people. They take in an input resource, just like wood or lumber or car parts or flour, is people. And I'm not talking about the sense of Soylent Green as people, but that's you. And they work to extract value. So they pay you. There's a trade. I will pay you for your time. You will give me value. Here's the key where it gets dangerous. If you work really hard and produce value, most corporations will reward you. They will, as happened for me, pay you more, promote you, give you more responsibility, give you more challenges. This, by the way, is just like a game. If you do well, you unlock achievements, you get new mounts, you get new armor, you get new skills, you get to explore new levels, you find quests. There is nothing different here. Games reward you for playing well. Companies reward you for playing well. The analogy I've given you and the meta of gameplay holds. The key, though, is just like you have to set your own limits on game time and decide when you're going to sleep and when you're going to eat pizza and when you're going to go on a date, you have to set your own limits with corporations because they will reward you for working yourself nearly to death. From a corporate viewpoint, not a human viewpoint and not the humans in a corporation, but from a corporate viewpoint, the only reason to limit your work time is where your productivity or the blowback in the public sphere starts to impede the value you're creating. So if you get too tired to do good work, the company will want you to be less tired. But otherwise, it doesn't have very many safeguards as a corporation. My meta point here is protect yourself. You need to do this yourself and just be aware. And by the way, this is a lot. Everybody's heard that story. If you put a frog in a pan of hot water, apparently it will jump out. But if you put a frog in a pan of room temperature water and boil it, it will sit there. I don't know if this is true or not. It's an image and makes a great story. Maybe someone in chat can tell us if it's actually true. But the image is strong and well known. And the point I would make for you is this happens slowly. You get boiled slowly. When I took my first job, I barely worked 40 hours. By the time I was deep into Amazon, 20 years later, I was working 60 hours routinely, sometimes a lot more. And 60 hours of real work is a lot. That was 60 hours of working, not web surfing. So you have to be careful of getting boiled like the frog. And we don't just put the frog in hot water. We feed it flies, right? We make it really happy. We convince it wants to sit in the water. So be aware of this. All right. It's not true. It's been debunked. I guess the frog jumps out. It's still a good story. And it says, Van City says companies won't pay you more if they don't have to. That's true. Their job is to get as much value as possible for as little money as possible. That's what they do. However, in a competitive free market society, you can go somewhere else. And so companies tend to pay you more because of competition, because of fear of losing you somewhere else. So you're right, they won't if they don't have to, but they have to keep you. And you as a free market agent can just go somewhere else. All right. Fragment Shader says you have to make sure you get credit. Sure, you do have to show your work within reason. You don't always have to brag, but you do have to make your work known and visible. All right. So a lot of you heard this before, but no presentation would be complete without it. Since this channel's heard it a lot, I'll do it very quickly. How do you do this magical career growth? Well, it's called the Magic Loop, and we have a whole video on it. But if you've never seen it written down, here it is. Do your current job well. Ask your boss, how can I help you once you're doing your job well? Whatever they answer, do it. Then go back and ask your boss, great, I'd like to advance my life this way. I'm trying to build my career that way. What can I do to help you that also will help me build my career, that will help me get paid more, that will help me learn this skill, that will help me get an overseas assignment somewhere I want to go, whatever it is you want. And you make that deal with them. And then you do what they ask and repeat it step 4. Now, I was talking to students, so I pointed out this doesn't have to be in a big corporate environment. This actually works when you are your own boss. You just need to ask yourself, what do I need to be doing to advance my mission? That's the entrepreneur's version of how can I help you? It's I have a mission. What do I need to do to advance my mission? And you keep asking yourself that question. It can be done in school. I've said this before about feedback being a gift. I want to go through this quickly so that we can spend some time chatting about other stuff. But look, some of you are afraid to get feedback. You have trouble taking criticism or looking at yourself for your weaknesses. We all have weaknesses. I have a long list of them, some of which I've shared here before. Turns out I listen poorly. That's probably my biggest weakness. That's why it's great when I stream. I only have to read chat. No, seriously, it's a problem. Feedback is a gift, though. You say thank you. And then you work on your development needs. So this is all about how to get that first step right, about are you doing well? Because all of us like to think we're doing well, but it's only when you start asking that you find out if you're really doing well. And by the way, bosses like to lie here. And they don't like to lie. It's that they seem like they like to lie because it can be hard to look someone in the eyes and say, well, you kind of suck. You're a pain in my ass. You irritate me. Your work is slow, because people are afraid of conflict. And so you've got to be good at eliciting real feedback, because bosses will sit on the feedback, and then when layoffs come, as has happened to some of you during COVID, they have a pecking order of who they're happy to get rid of and who they're not. And you want to get real feedback from them ahead of that, so that you can either change jobs or fix problems ahead of time. You got to make the boss comfortable, and that goes to this point of being helpful, working hard, and trying to help. All right. Here's an equation. This is new. I've never written this down on this show before. Being good at a job is an equation, and it's an equation that says good work minus your mistakes and how much you irritate the leadership is your value. And your goal is to widen this gap. And you can do it by working harder and doing more good work. You can also do it by improving your skills, which is fewer mistakes and better work, and improving your humanity, your emotional intelligence, so that you're less irritating. So, this slide deck, by the way, is like a tour de force of everything we teach on this show. So it's like a compiled, compressed version. So I hope you enjoy it. Got let go due to COVID layoffs right after the sign-up period for the master's degree. Oh, the Rex, I'm sorry. That sucks. The Rex 243 has been on our channel a lot in the past, and I didn't know this had happened to him. Irritate leadership. Yeah, graduated into COVID. That's a tough. We've talked about this. Glalion, I don't know how you say your name, or if you do. But we've talked about this, and we have a video about graduating into COVID. So Sapu123. There's other ways to ask it. You don't have to ask it as Kiss asks. You can just say, hey, I'm looking around. I've got some free time. What needs to be done next? Okay, if what can I do to help sounds Kiss ass. The other thing you can do, the advanced version of this, the advanced version is to figure out what needs to be done and just do it. To know what the company and the group are trying to do enough that you don't need instruction. You can just go do it on your own because you see what needs to be done. That's a great way. All right, I'm going to keep this moving. And I see some people with great chat comments. Feel free to put them in as questions in our Q&A extension, available on both mobile and PC. If I'm not answering them here. Also feel free to join our Discord, which our lovely mods can pop up for you. We keep these discussions going while I'm on the road. I spend a ton of time in the front seat of that van on my phone on Discord answering or participating. All right. Some of you have heard this before. Again, prioritization. Where do you get time to do everything in this talk? Well, let go of the illusion that things will slow down. They won't. It hasn't slowed down yet. Nothing in my life has slowed down. I'm just as busy now, although having a lot of fun, as I was when I was working. It won't slow down, so it's about making choices. Same thing, though, going to the game meta analogy, it's critical plays that make the difference. Most of the game turns out to be grinding or exploring. It's a few critical plays that win. So if you need a book about this, read Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy. If a book is too damn long for you, Google Selective Negligence by Brad Porter. And that'll give you a different version. It's not the same as Eat That Frog. We give you a different version of the idea in 3 minutes. The point of Eat That Frog, some of you have heard, is do the hardest thing for your day first in the morning, and your day will get easier as you knock off tasks. But if you're like me, and like many of us, you wake up and you don't want to work hard right away, so you start doing easy things. And what that does is as you wear down, it's later in the day and you're low energy still, only the hard stuff is left. And then what you do is you put it off to tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. And that sounds like a Shakespeare quote. But don't do that. Read the book. It's short. I only recommend generally short books because I don't have a lot of time and I don't read long books very often. 3 slides I added. Steve Jobs on saying no. So you're wondering how to get time. Focus is about saying no. You've got to say no, no, no. When you say no, you piss people off. You can do this at work. If you're delivering enough value, if you're getting the important things done, you can say no to all kinds of stuff. Now, if you work at a shitty place and you say no to an angry boss, maybe you'll get fired. Go get a better place to work if you can. But in most places, you can say no to dumb work. And you can say no to distractions. And you can say no to all the things in your life that aren't work that are distractions. And to Jobs, focus was about willpower and the courage to abandon 1,000 great ideas to put out one really big goal. This works. I quote Steve Jobs on this, by the way, because I'm always talking about Bezos, and I like to showcase that other leaders has had great ideas as well, but Bezos says the same thing in different words about focus and prioritization. So if you've not seen this before, it's called the Eisenhower Matrix after former president and World War II General Dwight Eisenhower. If you don't know this, I'll let you study it. You can look at it quickly. You can go read about it. Basically, what happens, and this is important, everybody gets this green quadrant. Everybody understands it. Oh, this work is really important and it's really urgent. The house is on fire. Flee. Okay, better do that and better do it soon. It's important because if I don't do it, I'll die. And it's urgent because it's on fire right now. Where people get into trouble, though, is they tend to get sucked into the orange And they get pulled away from the most important work that might not be due, say, for a couple weeks. Or like I was talking to someone, I was coaching someone recently about putting in the time to educate themselves, to learn. You can always put off learning more. You can always put off investing in yourself. You can always put off going to the gym to stay fit. You can put things off that don't have a deadline. The problem is there's more value usually in the blue quadrant than in the orange one. And the orange one is cases where people are yelling at you or asking you to do things that may or may not have a lot of value. And by the way, the rest of the world loves to ask you to do things. There's a saying I teach managers, which is true. If you want something done, give it to a busy person. And you think, that's weird. Why don't you give it to the person who's not busy? Well, the reason they're not busy is they don't do very much. And so giving it to them, they probably won't do it because they may not be that good or that motivated or that capable. The busy person, they're busy because they're doing a lot. But if you are that busy person, this is really unfair because I have a motive to try and give you even more. And that goes back to my point earlier about corporations and value. Without meaning to and without trying to be mean, I will load you up with work. And what you need to do is say, this isn't the most important work. You need to give it to that lazy guy. And then, of course, the stuff in the bottom right corner, eliminate. I'm going to check chat real quick. Yeah, Boris Pinkhaw, I totally get that the Eisenhower Matrix probably was not invented by Dwight Eisenhower. At the same time, it's also been reshared without his name. So, regardless, I was thinking about this matrix, and I gave it a new name with a twist. I changed importance, which is the same, with difficulty rather than urgency. And the reason I did this is there's not only how time urgent something is, there's how hard it is. And we struggle. It's much more fun to do things that are really important, this upper left corner, and that are easy. Okay, so I said burning house. Well, actually running out the front door screaming is not that hard. Most people can pull it off. It's the hard things that are natural to avoid because we feel bad about them and we feel, that's going to be a lot of work. So that's doing sit-ups if you don't like sit-ups. It's losing weight. It's very hard. It's not quick. It's writing well. It's working with a coworker that you need to get something done with, but the coworker is a difficult person or someone you don't like. Yet it's critical to actually do these first. And the reason is you need to do them when you're high energy, when you have the emotional fortitude. And so this goes back to Eat That Frog. The story of Eat the Frog is if you have to eat a frog every day, it's better to do it in the morning so you can get it over with and not dread it. So this is just a different way to think about it. And both of these go to the point of where you're going to get the time to do all the other stuff in the gameplay I've talked about. We're almost done. We'll take questions next. I've said this before. Don't trust anyone else to own your career. Do it. You have to play the meta. Don't let me play your meta game. Don't let me set your meta game. Give you your life goals. I will do it. I as a corporation, I as many managers, I will do it in my own image because I will assume, well, my career, I love it. You must want to be like me. So you should grow towards management. You should be good at public speaking. I will define your life in my eyes. And it's not because I'm evil. It's because I'm biased. And those are different. Other people will do this. And some corporations and some managers, some bosses, some owners, some whatever are exploitative. And they will happily define your life as what benefits them. Don't let this happen. Own your own metagame. So, summary, how to win the game. Define your own victory conditions. Then once you decide on those victory conditions, get good at playing the game you want to play well, in line with what's easy for you, in line with your passions, in line with that flow idea of what is easy for you, what comes naturally. There is the reality that there's some grinding in every life. It's true. It's not going to go away. Deal with it, but don't have it be most of it. Ask for feedback so you know if you're doing well. And by the way, even if you're an entrepreneur, even if you're on your own, even if you're an artist all by yourself, you want feedback to make your art, your work, your consulting practice, your private practice, whatever it is you do, your gameplay, you want feedback to make that better. Don't be afraid of feedback. It sucks when people tell you, actually, I don't really like what you did, but you can get better. Believe me, I get this. I get YouTube video comments. There will be someone who hears this. They'll give me some YouTube video comments. They may be harsh. I read them and try to improve. Prioritize. Time is too valuable to waste. So the idea that, I'm just going to waste some time, I would encourage you not to do that. Doesn't mean don't relax, don't chill, don't meditate. But don't just get into letting your life drift by. That's sad. Find mentors and apply the magic loop. And then I had a thank you slide with other places to find me. So that wraps up the slides I showed Carnegie Mellon. And so I will switch back to main camera. Ooh, I was leaning in. It was making me dark, huh? Lighting here is kind of bad. Let's see. I'm working at a friend's house, and the camera isn't liking to light me well. There we go. Let's change it to be just like that. Okay, that's a little better. It is what it is. It's a road stream. You're getting a live stream from Florida the day after a hurricane. What do you want, people? No, I'm going to switch over here and take questions. So, mods, you can start pinning questions. I'll read the first one out. How can you prevent looking at the end boss, and therefore forget to see the good points, enjoy the journey? So in the gameplay analogy, you're afraid of the big level boss, the big boss fight at the end. How do you enjoy the journey? This is a good question. Number one, you can decide this for yourself in gameplay, actually. So I used to play some Grand Theft Auto, and I never played for the big mission. I played to explore, to drive around, to see what was going on in the world. And PMA Dota, thank you for the sub, by the way. But I played the metagame just to enjoy exploring and enjoy doing card tricks. So one way to do it is never go see the end boss. A different way to do it is to realize that's a problem for another day. A good friend of mine taught me a saying I'll share with you. It's potent and it's short. Don't borrow trouble. In other words, that end boss, that fight may not be as hard as you think. You may get allies. You may find a way around it. You may find a hack. Cheat codes in real life are fine. Try to find a cheat code. Try to take, let's go Zelda here, right? It's dangerous to go alone. Take this. Boss fights in real life, it's okay to cheat your way around them by bringing allies or by bringing artifacts. Find a way around it. Find a creative way to make that fight easier. More to the point, though, realize it's a problem for some future day. I'll go biblical for a minute if you want a different quote. It's a variation of don't borrow trouble. I don't have the chapter and verse reference memorized. But from the New Testament somewhere it says, basically, today has troubles enough of its own. Let tomorrow take care of itself. And it's said the other way. Let tomorrow take care of itself. Today has troubles enough of its own. So this is timeless wisdom. It's at least been written down for about 2,000 years and probably much longer. So you can choose to take your time and enjoy today. It doesn't mean be a hedonist or don't do anything to plan. This, in fact, is about the metagame. Enjoy garnering your skills. And then the last thing I would say, I made a post on LinkedIn today, actually. It's in our Discord. Someone can copy it out of Discord, one of the mods. Good job for Awesome. Awesome. Go get the LinkedIn link and please place it here in chat. I posted on fear. We let fear ruin our lives, and Tim Ferriss and others have a ton of stuff about how to control fear and have it be better. How to not have your fears prevent you from action. Henry Berry 801 is really nice of you to gift a sub, and even nicer that it went to M. Kusk, who is super active in our Discord. He does a ton of work. He's invited me to go bog walking in Estonia, which one day I sure as hell want to do. So, all right. I think I've answered that pretty well. Let's go to the next one. I want to push you to be more specific in your video games analogy. Okay, I haven't read any more of that question, but I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you for pushing me. I had a reviewer say of my videos, I do best when I'm pushed. And so I don't know what you've written next. I'm going to read that right now. But I like hard questions that make me think, and I don't have all the answers. So maybe you'll find something where I'm like, yep, good point. I don't know. But being pushed helps me be better. So it's totally fine to begin a question that pushes on me to be sharper and stronger. All right. I want to push you. Video games tend to have resource bars you need to manage while playing. Real life tends to have a lot of resource bars. Yes, emotions, energy, etc. How can you figure out what resource bars we need to prioritize? What resource bars do you actively manage on a daily basis? This is a great question. I've said this before. It looks like Awesome Patel, by the way, has stepped away because he didn't go post the link out of Discord. So damn it, I'll do it myself. Hold on, and then I'll answer this question, but I want to share this. If you want the part about fear, it's this link here. Awesome must be off doing awesome work, which is totally fine. Here we go. So if you want to join my LinkedIn, follow me there. This is a post I made today. You should go read it. And I am Nim. Thank you for the subs. There's another post. Let me see if I can go find it. I can always find this. Let's see. I have my mic on my keyboard in this setup. But here we go. It's a Harvard Business Review article I post all the time called Manage Your Energy, Not Your Time. And it's like a 5-minute read. I'm going to post the link right now. It's about this question of resource bars. So one thing I've realized is managing your time is a fool's game. Managing your energy and putting your energy into the most important things is a better game. So that's more meta for you. Don't play time management as a game. Play emotional and physical energy management. Now, what do I manage? Sleep. Get enough sleep. Food. Eat good food. I'm lucky that my spouse, the people around me also like healthy food. So eat healthy food. Despite the fact I always have a drink on stream, I rarely have a drink elsewhere. A little bit of wine. Friends. Emotional energy. Get away from caustic people. I will be the first to admit on this stream, I've had a whole bunch of psychological coaching, testing, etc. Many of you know of the streamer Healthy Gamer GG, Dr. K, Dr. Kanagia. I've been publicly on his stream a couple times where he's dug into my history, and I've had to learn from him. I also have a therapist that I see not on this road trip, but once a week when I'm home. Not all the time, not all my life, but on and off at different times. Fix your brain. Get your brain straight, because the worries, the fears, the things your parents messed up in you, and all parents do, I'm sure I have for my kids, those are drains on you. So that's a long list. If you want the simple, short list, it's sleep, food, exercise, which food and exercise are both part of health. And then relationships, toxic relationships. And that can be at work, it can be at home, it can be an SO. Get away from them. So, those are my answers. This is a good question. Whoever asked this, gold star. Gold star. And yeah, Dr. K is a baller. That is a good point in chat. There's a long question here about an SE who wants to be a designer. It's in chat. Blah, blah, blah. I'd say, Senior Taco, maybe put that, try ask the community in our Discord. And maybe you're answering someone else. So, all right. Another huge question. It's so long, I'll have to read it. It won't all show up. How important is it to have a master's degree when applying to a bigger company like Amazon? Short answer, it's not. It's nice. We hire 3,000 plus BS graduates a year. In business, we do the same. We hire a ton of people. I'm thinking of SDEs when I said 3,000 plus. That's just Amazon. Master's degree is great. I have one, but you don't have to. I'll come back to this. I heard that without getting a master's degree, I have a very slim chance of getting a job there for junior positions. Not true. False. Just plain false. Danny, are you still here? Danny Mac? You can reach out in our Discord. Look for someone who's there. Sometimes Danny Mac, from Amazon. There are others. Master's degree will help you. It is not needed. For context, I have 1 year of work experience, mostly internships. I'm currently looking for jobs. I might change how I plan my career. Go work in a few bigger companies. You can totally get jobs at Amazon without an MBA. No question. Now, does an MBA or master's degree help? Sure. More education is usually valuable. But it is, I never tell you it's required. Now, I don't know about McKinsey, NBA Hitch, maybe you do, or somebody else can talk about the big consultancies. But even then, I think they take in a lot of people. They love MBAs. Okay, now MBAs are a special ticket. McKinsey and Accenture. Well, whatever. All right. We're going to move on from that question, though. Education is valuable and MBAs are highly prized, so it's good. They're also super ass expensive. So we're getting down to questions that don't have a lot of votes. If you want me to answer a bunch of stuff, go ahead and vote. If not, hey, we had a great road trip. We're now turning back. We're going to head back across the southern U.S. I'll be home in 2 weeks. It'll be Thanksgiving. We'll do more streams. I have some guests already lined up for December. I have a list of people who want to be guests, and I will do at least one more live stream from driving down the road. So let's see here. Keeping going. Next question. When a whole company culture is built around saying yes to everything a customer says, how can you introduce no? Great question. First, there are bad leaders who don't understand that sometimes the right thing to do is tell a customer, I can't do that for you that way at that price or on that time frame. You may need to change companies. However, to introduce no, you can have a discussion either with the customer or with the leadership of, hey, we're always overcommitting. We're distracted. We build nothing systematic. Could we try guiding this customer? There are ways to say no that are not straight no. Could we consider another approach? Have you thought about what is your real goal here? Is there an easier way? Basically, you may consider those weasel words, but they are social transitions. This is the classic, in the stereotype of dating, it's where a woman says, oh, I have to wash my hair tonight or whatever. They're trying not to give a straight no. And guys do this too. Now we just ghost, right? That's new. Ghosting is a new way. You don't ghost your customers usually, but the point is you find a way to guide them to a different understanding. This is also about building trust. You don't try to get your boss. You don't say no to a customer in front of your boss. If you want to introduce no, have private discussions so that no one has to be humiliated. Use the more Asian concept of letting everyone save face and do your lobbying in private for better ways to do stuff. All right. Where do I vote? Yeah, so that got answered. Hot shot. Good, nice of you to be here. All right. Let's now I'm drinking the raw ginger beer that went in my earlier drink. It's good too. Bundaberg. All right. We have another question regarding the magic loop. What if this lead to the person no longer being in flow and entering the anxiety part because not being able to handle the new task? Yeah, great question. I think I answered this when I showed the magic loop, but let me see if I can bring it back up real quick. You may drop out of flow for a little bit. So I can answer this question very specifically. I'm going to bring the screen back up real quick to do it. The full question reads, regarding the magic loop, what if this leads to the person no longer being in flow and entering the anxiety part because of not being able to handle this new task? How to handle this? Great. You may become anxious if you ask your boss how you can help them. Step 2, here. And then whatever they answer is hard for you and you're not in flow. Well, I said you can't be in flow all the time. There will be some grinding. There'll be some gold farming. There'll be some whatever. But you do a little of it to earn trust. And then the next time you go back, you ask your boss for things that are in your sweet spot, that are in your flow state. And if you work for a good boss in a decent company, because you're helping them, they will tend to help you back. If you don't believe that, read the longer book, Leadership and Self-Deception, and you'll understand why. But basically, bosses appreciate people who help them, and they tend to try to help them back. By the way, when you see someone that you think of as a suck up, a kiss ass, or the teacher's pet, that could be true. It also could be that that person has helped the boss and is getting a favoritism treatment. I tried very hard not to favor people in my org. I will also say it's extremely hard not to play favorites when one person in your org is bending over backwards to help you and another person isn't. So what one person calls favoritism, another person can reasonably call cooperation. This person's cooperating with me, I cooperate with them. This person is struggling to be successful here. It's harder for me to be as generous or cooperative because they're failing this first part, do your job well. In any case, the answer to this question is get yourself to step 4, where you can set your tasks in collaboration with your boss to be things that keep you in flow. So that's the answer to the question. All right, let's see what we got next. Next question. What are some ways you can increase the visibility of your work without being braggadocious, without being a braggart, a blowhard, etc., especially in an entry-level position at a larger company? Give a brown bag talk. Ask your boss, how can I raise the visibility of this? It is tricky. There's a fine line between bragging and taking appropriate credit. The first thing is understand the difference between those two, and particularly for women and for some people from different cultures, they feel so afraid that they might be seen as bragging that they don't take appropriate credit. So that's an internal battle, being willing to say, yes, I did that. This is my work, and I'm proud of it. That's different than saying, hey, everybody, look at what I did. And so what you may need to do, though, is take appropriate credit. The other thing you may need to do is simply share it and be a little bit patient. Not everything you do will get noticed. Van City Oliver, clarify that a little bit. Which culture of people have you seen? Say a little bit more about what you want to know. The point on this question is not everything we notice and we think we did well will everyone else notice. And this is because we live inside our own heads and we rarely fail to take credit for our own good, but we are not as good at noticing what others do. So for example, let's say my wife tells me she'd like me to be better at getting my socks in the laundry hamper. Well, every time I put them in the hamper, I will say to myself, what a good husband I am. I'm doing what I was asked. She comes in. All she knows is she's on her way to make the bed or to change her own clothes. She has no idea I took socks off. She might or might not notice there are socks in the top of the hamper the next time she looks at it. So I'm giving myself credit every time I do something. The other person isn't going to notice that often. Now, they may over time notice, gee, your socks are no longer all over the floor of the bedroom or the hallway. But it's not going to be as instantaneous. You have to be a little patient. That said, there are other sneaky ways to showcase your work. Ask other people for feedback on it. Hey, I completed this project. What do you think of it? How could it be improved? Hey, I completed this project. What do you need me to do next? Hey, I completed this project. Did it work for the customer? Now, these questions are a little bit passive aggressive, but again, if you need to raise awareness of what you're doing, you got to talk about it somehow. So, oh, Van City, that's funny. All right. Exotic male, that's funny too. All right. A couple more questions have votes. When do you know it's time to quit and move to a different company? Boy, I'm asked this all the time. I should probably do a video on this, just on this, maybe a short LinkedIn video. When to quit. Number one, your company is going under and isn't going to get back. Do not be the last rat off the sinking ship. Number two, you have a clearly better offer from someone else. Those are easy. All right, let's talk about the hard case. The first place I think you should look if you're struggling at a company is look at yourself. Is there something I can do differently? Something I can learn? Talk to your boss. Is there something I can do differently? Is there something I can learn? But if you're at a company that's stagnant and there's no opportunity for you to move up and you've asked about it or tried, or if you're working for a boss or on a project that is poorly run and doesn't appear to be getting better, and that talking to them isn't changing anything, then your life is too short to spend it working on something that's not going to work out. The key here is to understand and be good at figuring out, is the problem me and my work and my patience, or is the problem the company and the circumstances? And I'm saying be suspicious of yourself first. And the reason I say that is because we tend not to be suspicious of ourselves. All of us have fragile egos and we love to blame others for our problems. I didn't get promoted because Sarah favors Bob. I didn't get promoted because I didn't get the right project. The project didn't fail because my code was late, my contract was late, my art was late, but because it's poorly run. We love to do that. Because looking at ourselves and actually owning and saying, actually, I fucked that project up is painful. And we don't like to do that. We avoid pain. So if you find yourself avoiding pain, be suspicious of yourself first. But once you take an honest look at yourself, if the opportunity is not there and you are doing good work and you have been honestly introspective and other people are telling you you're doing good work, but the opportunities aren't coming, it's a big world. Go find somewhere where they are. I'm going to look at the chat comments on this. Yeah, Boris, gaming analogy. I didn't win the game because my character got nerfed. I didn't win the game because. Yeah, games are random. I've seen people complain that they're unfair when they get bad cards. This is something we see in our family. If someone gets dealt a bad hand of cards, they complain about the cards. Well, that's life. It's a random game. They don't complain when they get good cards, though. They think it's skill. Actually, there was a great study in gaming done about this. It was done with the board game Monopoly. They took the game Monopoly and they changed the rules. So they gave one person like $200 extra when they passed Go and gave them a bunch of other advantages, like they could roll 3 dice rather than 2. And yet, those people naturally won the game, right? But even though they obviously had systematic advantages, rolling extra dice, getting extra funds, they tended to credit their winning to their own skill. Needless to say, the people who were losing tended not to blame their own skill, but to blame the disadvantages. This is what we do. And be suspicious of your own mind. It loves to lie to you so that you can feel good. Building a little bit of muscle to face up to the bad will make you much more successful in your career. We'll go back to the full camera view. All right. Yeah, that's it. Is my aim bad, or do I just need that 240 hertz monitor and $150 mouse? I did this a lot in hockey and skiing. I started out on really cheap equipment because I said the problem is the skier or the hockey player, not the equipment. Only once I got good enough that it was obviously the equipment holding me back did I upgrade equipment. Because it's easy to go get the best gear and think that's going to make you good, and it's not. All right, I want to read what Pentaquant wrote here. Game devs equal government cheaters, generational wealth and power, handed trust fund babies and schemers, in-game credits. Wow, that's complicated, Pentaquant. I'm not sure exactly where you're going. All right, I'm going to hop back over, see if we have any good questions left. We're getting near the end of time where my kids are going to be done with school, and we're going to head out to the Tampa Aquarium to see some gators. What victory conditions, in your opinion, are just too low to be considered as such? Oh, boy. Well, I don't know. If they're yours, they might be okay. Obviously, there are evil victory conditions, like I will win this game by enslaving others. I will win this game by exploiting others. But that's not what you're asking. I think you're asking what's too low. I mean, I would like everyone to reach for something that was self-actualized. And what that means is something where you're not only taking care of yourself, but you're helping others. So I guess I would say the victory conditions I consider too low for your whole life game are ones that are only self-focused, that don't have any altruistic or improve the world nature at all. I don't care how you improve the world. I mean, I do, but I'm willing to be open-minded. But if you're not improving the world, contributing to others at all, that seems bad. So that would be my answer to this question. I'm going to take 2 more questions quickly, rapid fire. We're going to do the speed run of questions, and then I have to go. So, advice for someone wanting to pivot from software engineering to game design who has never made a game in their life, starting back at level 1 is scary. Be a programmer, right? 2-putt it. Oh, got to let the dog out. 1 sec. There we go. Opening the door. What I would say, closing the door, 2-putt. In career change is very common to 2-putt. So go from whatever you're doing to game development, where you're the coder on the game, to game design. And often in career changes, you have to make that pivot across time. Game developers need lots of people just cranking away code, and you might say, so maybe you'll end up being the person who codes the game's website or its help site or its support site or its forums, but get close to it so you can learn. That's how I would do it. And Pentaquant, there's the Discord. The mods popped it up. Okay, next question. What can I do to be better about my anxiety in my early career? I'm an associate product manager at a Series A2 startup. Okay. I addressed this as best I could in the LinkedIn post I referenced earlier today. It's in our Discord. It was posted earlier in the chat. I addressed fear. It's too long of a topic to answer quickly, but essentially do what Tim Ferriss calls fear setting. So go look up Tim Ferriss's blog on fear setting and do that. That is my best short advice. Boris also calls out correctly. Dr. K, Healthy Gamer GG, has a video on managing anxiety. He's awesome. Try that. Next, advice for someone wanting to pivot. We already did that, so we'll skip that question. How do you manage a struggle between a job that pays well but is draining versus any other direction that definitely will pay less but won't be as enjoyable? So this is a common tricky question of money versus personal enjoyment. Well, how much do you enjoy the money? And is the money making you happy? And how much do you need it? The best short advice I've heard here is there's two ways to handle money. There's make more and there's be content with less. Now, I don't want to be ridiculous. You need food, you need a house, etc. But at the same time, lots of us are really good at wasting and consuming tons of money. I lived below my means for a lot of years. So I made more than I needed, put it in the bank, and that allowed me to step away. And I made this trade-off, right? I worked at the high dollar job until I felt that I could afford not to. So you may have to do the same thing. But don't spend your whole life in it, and this is key, don't keep buying bigger crap as like short-term cotton candy medication for feeling bad, so that you never save up. By the way, I've done a financial stream before. I'll probably do another in the future. The fastest way to have lots of money is save a little bit early and let interest and market growth grow over time. So money I stockpiled early is worth more than what I earned later. All right. How much value does an MBA provide if you've already obtained an executive position? Well, this is the last question, and I would say none or nearly none, based on personal experience, which is biased. I became an executive. I considered along the way getting an MBA. I never did, because why would I bother? It would provide you new information, but I learned financial skills, marketing skills, some other skills by doing them. An MBA is a credential to help you move up the chain. If you've moved up the chain to where you want to be, you do not need the degree. You may need some of the education that comes from that degree. So people do what's called an executive MBA, and they learn some stuff and they get a network. But if you are a true executive, I think learn what you need to, and the degree no longer matters. Now, that's a controversial opinion. Education is always good, but you don't need that credential because your resume speaks for itself. And with that, I'm going to wrap it up. We're going to end up, wrap it up, Domi, for those who know the quote. We're going to sign off with our usual cheers. It was good seeing you all today. I'll be back in a few days with a live stream from the road. Until then, join our Discord, follow us on LinkedIn, enjoy the YouTube videos, etc., etc. This was a good stream. Thank you. Good audience, good feedback. Talk to you soon. All right, Vidzi, others, I'm glad that lots of you got a ton of value out of this. This was a really fun stream. I appreciate all of you. I hope you show up in Discord, join our community there. Really fun stream. Be back soon. Really a pleasure talking to you.